Write, watch.
CNN weeknights 10 Eastern.
Amazon.com, the biggest online retailer in the world, is selling a guide for pedophiles. Right now, on their website, they are selling an ebook for Kindle, in essence, profiting from pedophilia. Now, at first I thought maybe they just don't know about this. Maybe it somehow snuck on the site. But all they have to do is read the title of the book. It's a self-published ebook entitled The Pedophile's Guide to Love and Pleasure, A Child Lover's Code of Conduct. The author's name is Philip Greaves, and he admits he has feelings for children, though he insists he's never acted on them. That's him. His ebook went on sale with Amazon.com October 28th. Now again, Amazon cannot claim they don't know about this book because here's how Mr. Greaves describes his book on Amazon itself. This is my attempt, he says, to make pedophile situations safer for those juveniles that find themselves involved in them by establishing certain rules for these adults to follow. I hope to achieve this by appealing to the better nature of pedosexuals with hope that their doing so will result in less hatred and perhaps lighter sentences should they ever be caught. He spelled lighter wrong. One of the pieces of advice that he gives pedophiles in this book is that if they are disease-free, they don't have to use condoms. Let's remember now, he's talking about using condoms with children. He even tells pedophiles what sort of touching and kissing and fondling of children is legal, how far they can go without getting arrested. Greaves writes in his ebook, and I quote, "Pedophiles, we must remember, care for and befriend their young lovers. They're concerned for the well-being and pleasure of their little friends." A number of people have posted comments on Amazon against the book, and now a Facebook page has been created calling for a boycott of Amazon. Lacey Fly writes on the Facebook page, "This is absolutely horrible. As a mother of a small child, I'm appalled by the fact that Amazon allows something like this on their website. Boycott Amazon," she says. "I'll not buy a book from them until all trash like this is taken off." Now, Greaves says he's not advocating anything illegal and is hoping to change the public's perception of pedophiles.
Every time you see them on television, they're either murderers, rapists, or kidnappers. And, you know, that's just not an accurate presentation of the that particular sexuality.
Well, he also seems to be pretty happy to court controversy so he can sell more books. He told ABC, quote, to a certain extent, I wanted that kind of notoriety to affect the book. I wanted to affect sales. We reached out to Amazon for a statement, and they didn't give us one. They did release a statement to the website Business Insider, and it reads in part, quote, Amazon believes it is censorship not to sell certain books simply because we or others believe their message is objectionable. Amazon does not support or promote hatred or criminal acts. However, we do support the right of every individual to make their own purchasing decisions. But keeping them honest here, again, they didn't respond to us. And in fact, several major media outlets say they contacted Amazon for a statement but heard nothing about it. So if Amazon really stands by the statement that you just heard, why aren't they responding to journalists' calls for comment? And about that one statement they did issue, Amazon does not support the right of every individual. They said Amazon supports the right of every individual to make their own purchasing decisions. But they don't. They censor books all the time. In fact, they have a blanket ban on porn. Now, if they don't believe in censorship, why ban porn? It's legal, it's popular, it involves consenting adults. Amazon even has a form for customers, reportedly, to report any porn that happens to make it onto their site.
Greaves here? He's not here right now. Are you his roommate? Do you know when he's supposed to be back? Has he written this book, The Pedophile's Guide to Love and Pleasure? Really? He has. What kind of guy? I mean, you know what everybody's going to wonder? Does he have sex with children? Hasn't had him. Hasn't. Is he retired or? Are you Philip Greaves? You are?
I am.
Hi, sir. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm okay.
Have you written this book, The Pedophile's Guide to Love and Pleasure?
Yes, I did write that book.
From what? Have you had experience having sex with kids?
Only as a child.
So why'd you write the book?
I wrote the book because I felt that some people were being demonized unfairly.
What do you think people are going to think about the book?
Oh, they're free to think whatever they want to think about the book. I'm sure they're going to think lots of bad things. I have all kinds of negative publicity on it on Amazon already.
Have you sold any copies of it?
One.
You sold one to who?
I don't know. I have no way of telling.
Can you tell us how you feel about pedophilia and child lovers?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't think that it's always bad for the child, okay? But I do think it's always confining for the adult, because there are just so many more things that adults can enjoy between each other than they could enjoy with a child without hurting the child.
What do you think is an appropriate punishment for a pedophile?
Ooh, it would depend on the crime. If it was just something that the child didn't have any problems with, maybe a fine of some kind. But if it was actual physical harm or mental trauma, a few years in jail perhaps, prison.
Were you touched as a child? Somebody have sex with you as a child?
Yeah, a 10-year-old girl.
Any adults have sex with you?
No,
as a
never.
child?
Never.
So what caused you to do this in the first place?
Oh, well, I wanted to kind of get some of the trauma that I got from my parents and my religion out of my system, you know, from when I was a child in that situation. And also, I keep hearing people they're always like, you know, every time you see them on television, they're either murderers, rapists, or kidnappers. And, you know, that's just not an accurate presentation of the that particular sexuality. It's not.
Do you think that religion is more harmful than pedophilia?
Now that's an interesting question. It depends on the intensity of the training. If it's like real intense and you're like everything is bound up in your religion, I think so, yes.
So what do you do for a living?
Well, right now I don't do anything for a living. I am retired disability. I'm writing right now and I hope that'll turn into a living.
What did you used to do before you were disabled?
I was a nurse's aide. I did home health care.
You haven't touched, as an adult, you haven't touched any children?
No, I
you go to
don't
the
do
police,
that.
that's what they'll tell us?
If you go to the police, they'll say they have no record of any such thing.
Do you have any children?
No, none.
Were you-
I have nieces and nephews, but I have no children.
What would you say to people is the main reason you wrote the book and the main message that you would like to get out to the public?
Well, the main message is that the title is actually twofold. First of all, I wanted to provide some guidelines for pedophiles so that they could avoid harming their victims, okay? And secondly, I wanted to say that in a pedophile situation such as Mary Kay Letourneau, that sort of situation, which can exist for males, but it's not really recognized that way, I want to say that they have a way of interacting with each other, with expressing affection towards each other, that adults would do well to emulate.
Are you encouraging?
No, absolutely not. Not at all.
Your book looks like you're encouraging it.
A lot of people want to see it that way. It's a guide to love and pleasure. It's not a guide to abusing children.
You think Amazon will consider pulling your book over
No,
time?
they've already made it very clear they're not pulling it.
We tried to purchase it today and had some problems.
You did?
Yeah.
Now, that's
Do you
unusual.
think that they pulled it?
No, I don't think they pulled it. Last time I looked, I had like 81 negatives to 3 positives who were basically standing up for my free speech rights. But they hadn't pulled it at that time, and I'll check later on to see how things are going, but as far as I know, they're not pulling it.
So how worried are you about your safety now?
Whew. Now,
Do you think
that,
you should be?
I don't know whether I should be or not. I think that a lot of people like to make threats, and appearing on local newscasts is not particularly in my best interest, but I choose not to worry about it.
You have roommates. What do they think about what you do?
They think that they're very impressed to know someone who writes.
Do you think
I don't share a lot of this information with them because I don't want to have to explain myself.
Now that they are going to find out, what do you think will happen?
Well, they might ask me about it, and I'll tell them the same thing I've been telling you.
And how would you feel if, you know, if there was a pedophile out there who did get your book and try to use it for bad purposes to...
I would find that a little bit difficult to believe, since those kind of purposes are not at all encouraged.
You know any pedophiles?
Huh?
You know any pedophiles?
I knew a sex offender once. He had had sex with a 14-year-old girl. The reason he got caught is because her sister was taking Polaroids of him. And he was in jail for, I think, about 5 years or so. I didn't like the man very much. Let's see.
Can you tell us some of your tips and advice included in the book?
Well, basically, that you've got to respect, know, and stop for what they are. Okay? That the child's pleasure and happiness come first. Okay? And that the child should never be asked to do anything that would be stressful to it.
You really think a child is in a position to say no or to know what's stressful for it?
Yes, I do.
But they're children.
Well, you know, we're grown-ups all here, but we're also children too. And, you know, I've met children that are, you know, as old as 9. I've even met 4-year-olds that have quite a lot upstairs.
Is there anything else you feel you need to add about your book?
Buy it, I want money. But no, I think I've pretty much covered most things. Let's see. I also go into what I think are, you know, legitimate concerns of parents and things of that nature, and I believe it's the second to the last chapter. And in the very last chapter, I go into what I think are the root causes for pedophilia. And I think it has to do with, you know, having had pleasurable childhood experiences, that it can lead to that. Not necessarily, but that it can.
Your childhood experience, would you categorize that as pleasurable?
I absolutely would.
So you'd be at risk for pedophilia?
Except for the fact that I've made a conscious decision not to put myself in that kind of position or to think in that kind of way.
Anything else you want to address? Any other questions you've gotten about it?
No questions, just accusations.